sliding into the DMs.
I have no idea. Is that a driver's motor vehicle?
Direct messages.
Excuse my grandma, she's still learning what it's like to date in 2021.
Are you some kind of professional?
Hi everyone, it's Kim and my grandma Gail, who's my co-host. You can say hi, Grandma.
Hi Kim. Hi everybody. Welcome.
Before you guys tune out, this is not another dating podcast about two millennials pretending to know everything about dating, but not being able to even get a text back because we've heard that a billion times. Do you listen to podcasts ever, by the way?
Never. I don't even know what a podcast is.
Well, we're on one right now.
Okay.
Basically, they're going to be able to hear us and not really see us unless they're watching one of our videos.
All right, don't make the questions too hard.
Okay.
Grandmas are old.
I feel like, though, you think that you're usually like the expert on a lot of this kind of stuff.
Well, dating in the 50s and 60s, I was a perfect expert.
Right.
I don't think in 2021 I'm so good.
Well, I feel like that's why we're doing this, right? To understand each other's, like, you have some hot takes on my dating and relationships, even though
your
you don't.
Dating really is terrible. There's no take on that.
You think that
Poor choices.
Arbitrarily everyone would just think that I make poor choices?
No, I think everybody in 2021 is making poor choices. There's no choices. We're not doing anything. We're
What do you
sequestered.
mean? Oh, do you mean because of the pandemic?
Well, pandemic and just the state of dating this last 9 months is there's no dating.
Yeah. Well, it's basically all on the apps, pretty much.
And I don't like the apps. I can't trust them.
Well, we're going to get to that in a little bit because I feel like you don't really know much about them.
No, I can't even turn on the phone. So how would I know how to work an app?
Right, that's true. Well, luckily you have Poppy, so you don't need to.
Well, luckily I have
right now.
you who can turn on my phone.
True. We're currently living together during the pandemic down in Palm Beach, Florida, but we're both from New York City. Upper East Side, and we lived there most of the year, but pandemic's been weird. We were both in the Hamptons for the summer. For most of the pandemic, I was living with my parents, and, you know, we weren't seeing each other as much, but now we're essentially quarantined together. And I'm trying to date during this time, so I fill you in, like, we talk on a daily basis pretty much about this stuff, but you don't know every single detail. You know the gist, but every time we do talk about it, we realize there's some things that are just so different between our generations. I'm 24. I'm almost 25. But
And I'm not telling how old I am.
I was thinking about asking that, but you kind of revealed it when you were in your 20s. What decade was that? The 50s and 60s.
It was the 60s, yes.
Okay. So that's really when you were dating as
Yes.
a young adult.
I was dating and got married. We didn't date for very long.
But you have so many stories.
Oh, well, I dated in high school. Yeah, because we
so
all
it was
dated.
high school when
We
you
all
had most
dated
of
in the
those.
50s. I mean, dating was a whole terrific way of meeting people and going out and doing things.
Right.
But we didn't have relationships per se.
How do you define a relationship?
Well, somebody that's mutually with one person at a time, not consecutive partners, and have things to talk about and do together. And really, there was no sex involved, so we don't really discuss that.
Yeah, that is so interesting to me because you have sex with someone now before dating them. Like, no, if somebody said to me, "Oh, this is my boyfriend, we've never slept together," I would be like, "You should not be in that relationship."
We got married and didn't sleep together till the wedding night. We didn't do
That
those
is
things.
crazy.
That was just a different mindset.
But what if you have sex and then it's terrible? Or you just
then
learn
you
to get
lived your
better?
life in misery,
I guess, and you could always
or
get.
you got divorced, which so many people did in the 70s.
But don't you think there's something to having multiple sexual partners and, like, being able to have fun in that way until you do settle down?
Well, I think it's interesting to have many sexual partners if it's really a relationship and you're enjoying each other. Just to end an evening because you had a good dinner, I don't think that should end with
Right.
sex.
So you mean it should be more at a point when you're really connected
Exactly.
and not
when
just like, oh, it was a nice time.
Exactly. This is not a hand. This is, this is not something that you're just going to shake hands and then, oh, let's get into bed.
Well, even so, like, you know what, obviously, like, what a one-night stand is.
I know what a one-night stand is, and I think that's where there were so many pregnancies in my day, But in my day,
Oh.
you couldn't get rid of the baby, so you had children, you got married.
I was going to ask about that. Casual sex now is so easy because not everyone, but a lot of people are on birth control.
Correct.
Or they can use a condom and there's no commitment really.
So how's that working for you?
For me, personally?
How's it working for your whole generation? I don't see anything terrific here. The girls don't get married till much later.
Well, I feel like it gives you a little bit more autonomy. You can sleep with someone for your own pleasure and you don't have to be worried about getting pregnant.
Well, no question about that. That's gone. We've come a long way in that area.
Mm-hmm. So when you were younger, your friends, like, were condoms invented?
I don't know if condoms were invented in the 50s and 60s, yes, but there wasn't. Those girls were called loose. So you didn't. Those girls were not respected by fellows. You tried to hold off at least a little bit till you were engaged or married.
What was their reason usually then for sleeping?
You don't give it away for nothing.
But
There
why
had to
were
be
they?
a ring at the end of the tunnel.
But those girls who were being called loose, like, do you think they just, like, it's something they wanted to do, so naturally they did it? Or do
I
you
think they were stupid. A lot of them were stupid. They had no idea. They thought that if they went to bed, they wouldn't get pregnant. There were a lot of misconceptions.
But why were they doing it, I'm saying? Like, for the same reason someone would do it now?
No,
Like, they
I think
it would
sex
be
is
fun.
sex. People
Yeah.
enjoy sex.
Right.
But some people could control it and didn't do it. And first of all, if you dated, you had an end game. You
Mhm.
didn't go in a relationship for 2 or 3 years. I mean, that was not.
So
that
it was
wasn't heard of.
always because you saw marriage at the end. So you would never
Exactly.
date somebody who you couldn't see yourself marrying?
Well, and I think in the 20s, of course, now you can't go by me because I got married when I was 21.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you were 18, 19 in those days, you didn't have premarital sex. It just wasn't the thing to do. You might have gone to other bases.
How common was it, let's say, to, like, give someone a blowjob?
I don't know. I never did it.
Ever?
I never.
That's
And,
crazy.
and I'm married 57 years. I'm still not doing it.
That's
it.
You know, now, like, a guy would be like, I'm not even giving you a second.
Well, you know
Look.
what? Then goodbye to you.
Yeah, but there's so much to be said about, like, giving
Well,
good head.
if you're happy doing it, then you should stick with it. It wasn't something that appealed to me. At the time, maybe in a different perspective, it maybe would have. But at the time when I was growing up, we wouldn't even thought of that. It was just something that was not in our frame of reference.
That's so crazy. And so no guy would even, like, try to pressure you in that direction?
No,
Wow.
no. I never had one that would. Absolutely not.
That's so crazy. Like, I feel like that just says something also about men in general, how they've changed, because I feel like they were a lot more respectful maybe in your time.
Not only respectful, but they would never have considered that. That was something that was not even a conversation in those days. But it's a different thing now, and I think the women have done it to themselves. The women have become much freer,
Mm-hmm.
and they have less. I think the women are looser than the men now. They don't care. Women like to change partners every 2 minutes.
And I think that's amazing. Like, I think both.
It's good and it's bad.
Why do you think it's bad?
I think it's bad because you're having there's no lines to be drawn in a relationship now. There should be a beginning, a middle, and an end game somewhere. And if you have none and you don't
Yeah,
care,
but so actually, I saw a really funny, like, meme on social media the other day that was like, before, like, let's say during your time, you would be holding hands with somebody and say, I wonder when eventually we'll sleep together, right? That was like the end. It went in that trajectory of first
Right.
you hold hands, one
Eventually.
day you'll sleep together. Now it goes, you're sleeping with somebody. I wonder if one day we'll hold hands.
oh, well, it's a changing culture. Which it definitely has changed. I mean, there's no question about, changing. I mean, women didn't really have a big place in the workforce
Right.
in the 50s. I mean, they were homemakers. They worked in small menial jobs, secretaries. There were some doctors, naturally, and lawyers, but those were the exceptions. You didn't have this kind of ability for women to break out of a mold. So that, in that case, that's been terrific. That's
Mhm.
been a wonderful change.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other cases where people don't feel that being a wife and a mother is enough for them anymore.
Right.
And that they look down on that. That happened very much in the 70s when we used to go to dinner parties and people said, oh, you're just a mom, you're just a homemaker.
That's so
That
interesting.
We eliminated friends like that. If they wanted to, it was just the kind of thing where the hell with them. You know,
Mhm.
they didn't respect our ability to raise a family. If, you know, they put their achievements ahead of what was a norm in the earlier times.
Mhm.
But, you know, which each generation brings up a problem. There'll be other problems. The family unit has broken down in many ways that it didn't when we were growing up. We kept in touch constantly with our grandparents, our cousins, our immediate family all the time. Now you have a breakup of that, basically because jobs are all across the country, and
Right.
you have different things.
Yeah. Well, I think now people are less judgy if someone's a mom or whatever because we acknowledge now that that is a big role. I think there is the idea, though, which is an idea as old as time, of the pressure to do it all. Can you do both? Can
I
you
don't know if you can do it all.
Well, we talk about a lot of the time. What you've said to me is like the man has to like you more than you like them.
Well, I believe that. I firmly
Don't you
believe
think
that.
the love should be equal on both sides?
No,
You-
because I think men can't equally love. Men are too much like the monkeys. They go from partner to partner. You got to find one guy that's going to say, no, this is my partner for life, like the Swans pick. And the women, a woman is much more satisfied in relationships than a man. A man is always looking. Always looking. It's just the nature of human nature. And
Right.
men look much more than women, even though women now look too.
For sure.
But I think what I would like to see for you is somebody that looks at you and thinks that you're the beginning and the end of what he would desire.
But then there's the other point of like you can't come on too strong because a guy who
no.
like if a guy meets you and they're already like you're the one for me, like it can come
Well,
off
I think
kind
that's
of
pretty
icky.
creepy.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that's your eventual goal. Nobody can feel that the first 3 or 4 or 5 dates.
True.
I don't think, unless
Right.
there's some
So you think
blinding
always
light.
give somebody a few dates to like I feel like I've gone on some dates over the summer where I was like I still don't know if I like them and I would be on date like 5.
I think it's still, you know what? Because dating first of all, dating just now with this situation with COVID isn't real dating. It was like if sitting on a bench and sipping a glass of wine isn't a date.
Right.
I mean, that was like torture.
Yeah, so that was she's referring to a date that I had gone on with a guy and it was not our first date. And that would maybe have been okay for a first date, get a drink. It was nice scenery sitting on a park bench. This was a little bit later. We talked about this before, the trajectory of first date drinks, second date dinner, right? Like you have to go.
Third date is not going to sleep.
That's not what I was going to say.
No.
I was going to say, like, at some point you have to go out to dinner, right?
Yes, you have to go out for dinner and have a conversation over a table where you would exchange
But why
ideas.
can't you have the conversation on a park bench?
It's sort of depressing to sit on a bench
Right.
and have a whole conversation. It doesn't lend to getting into what you want in life. Are you
But
enjoying
sitting at
your
a
career?
dinner table does?
Well, I think yes, it's a more formal kind of situation. I think that it's not like you're running in the park together. I mean, that's fun too, and walking on the beach is fun too.
Right.
And all these things make for an interesting composition of what one relationship
Because I went on some
would
pretty
be.
fun dates over the summer where, you know, it would be mini golf or like a drive-in movie.
Those are great.
Those are fun.
Those are fun.
But
and
you
that
think like
gets
they
you-
can't be only that.
No, I think it should be a little bit of each, and that's what makes a composite of a person.
Mhm.
It can't be all one thing. It's not like if you can't play golf every day, you can't play tennis every day, you can't go swimming every
Right.
day. I think you have to put in a little bit of what you're working at, what your goals are. You want to really talk about things and also have fun.
Mhm.
Go, take a chance. Go for a horseback ride.
Right.
Go for a mountain
Because that's
climb.
when you're going to do random stuff like that. Like, you can go with your friends, but I feel like normally with your friends, you're a little bit more like, oh, we'll just hang out, do dinner, like whatever it is. I feel like on dates, you kind of go outside your comfort zone to break the ice with people.
Well, that's true. I think that's true, and I think that's good.
Yeah,
But then after a while, it has to be that you enjoy each other's company,
right.
too.
It's not just the activity is fun. It's
Exactly.
like, depends on the person.
Exactly.
Okay, wait. So let's talk about your relationship because we were getting to that a little bit. How long have you been married again?
Married 57 years.
Wow. What's
Yeah.
the secret?
That is a long time between covers.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so how did you meet?
We met we were a blind date. Our two families distantly knew each other. And I had
So
just,
wait, you mean they had randomly connected one day and said, "Let's set them up"?
my aunt and my husband's parents were friendly. They had the two men had served in the war together. They were in the Navy in World War II, so they knew each other. And they met at a party, and they said, "We have a nephew and I have a niece, and maybe they would like each other."
So can we hear the story of the first date?
The first date was really nice. I lived in the suburbs, and he lived in a different suburb over the Triborough Bridge. And he came over. We went out for dinner, and we had a very, very nice time. He wasn't my type because I sort of liked a wilder guy.
Wait, what is wild though?
Oh, I liked a guy who would be gambling and running around and
Gambling?
went to discos in those days. He was not a dancer,
Right.
and he was very quiet.
He didn't go out.
And well, he went out, but he liked sports. He was more into liking golf matches and tennis and baseball.
Okay.
And I had no interest in sports.
Same, preaching to the choir.
But you know what? I listened to him, and it was a pleasant date. And but I was dating somebody else at the same time. He was
Right.
like a Thursday or a Friday night date. I don't know what
Oh
he
wait,
was.
yeah, we've talked about that before. Like, because when I was seeing somebody, you were like, "Where is he on Friday and Saturday night?"
Right, that used to be the most important.
That's the top tier.
Your prime guy
Yeah.
was Saturday night. Your second to top guy was always Friday night. And during the week was just forget it. That was maybe just going for a hamburger.
Right.
And you weren't really interested in he wasn't interested in you that much.
Yeah.
So, and then after a while, you fit a slot. You would go out 4 or
If you
5
liked
Saturdays
him-
in a row.
Right. If you liked him on Wednesday
You
and
could
you had a
push
great
him up
date,
to
you
Friday.
okay, got it.
You could push him up.
Got
You
it.
could push him up.
Okay.
And then we went out on a second date. It was a big date. We went to theater in the
Yeah.
city. And that was a big thing because we had to come into the city, and we went for dinner, and we went to a show. We went to an off-Broadway show. He had gone to Harvard, so this was a writer who had produced his own play, and it was off-Broadway. And we sat down, and we saw the play, and I mean, I got up from the play at the end, and I said, "God, this was the most awful thing I ever saw." And he said, "It's brilliant." So I figured, this guy, quietly in my brain, I said, "This guy is definitely not for me." And we went home, and then I didn't hear from him. And I figured, you know what, it's fine.
Yeah, but you didn't feel that spark then on the first date, because you know
No.
how in movies they say,
No, I had no spark.
yeah,
I had no spark. We liked each other. He
Yeah.
was very pleasant.
Right.
He was pleasant. I actually didn't think it was going anywhere,
Mhm.
to be very truthful, because we really weren't coming from the same type of schools. We didn't have the same interests.
okay,
The only thing we had going was probably our families were in the same socioeconomic,
right, and you're both Jewish,
and we were both Jewish.
Right.
Well, that was very important because I really didn't date anybody that wasn't Jewish.
Mhm.
That was, a different time. It was very hard coming from a community where we basically stayed within our own community, went to colleges, went to sororities and fraternities that were basically based on
Yeah.
religious affiliation.
right.
And,
Well, also,
that's no longer
you were saying you were only dating for if you imagine yourself marrying that person,
right. You
And
dated
if you
a
know
short
you want to
time.
marry a Jewish person, then why waste your time dating people who aren't?
Well, our families just didn't approve of that.
Yeah.
You just didn't do it. It
Yeah.
wasn't something that you did. And it was very hard to be very truthful. And this was not everybody. I can't generalize, but I would say most of my friends, you didn't have the opportunity to even meet somebody that perhaps was out of your religious
That's so
base.
crazy.
It was really, even in universities, you didn't.
Mhm.
And, I dated some non-Jewish kids in high school because I came from a mixed town.
Mhm.
But once I went to college, we didn't mingle. So you
Yeah.
didn't have the opportunity to have an interfaith relationship.
Mm.
So that was different.
So wait, so finish the Broadway show
So anyway,
story.
we went to this show, we went home, and that was the end of it. I didn't hear from him, and I said to my mom, this guy was not for me. He's
Mhm.
too intellectual. So about a month, and I was going out with some other people
Mhm.
and having fun. And I think about a month later, the phone rang, and he was on the phone. And he said, "Oh, I'm so sorry I didn't call you back." I said, "Oh, gosh, I thought you died. I really thought you died. I never had a guy not call me back. I
Right.
might not have liked him, but they usually called me back."
Sure.
And he said, "No." And then he went through the whole story, that his family went to see the show, and his mother, who was Phi Beta Kappa from Wellesley, said the show was fabulous. And his father, who graduated Harvard, said that was the stupidest show I've ever seen.
Just like you.
Just like me. And since I was a lowly grad from Syracuse, I couldn't compare myself to going to Harvard. But he evidently felt the same way. And he basically figured if he knows his father wasn't stupid, so he'd give me another chance. And I guess we started going out again, and 3 months later we were engaged.
3 months?
Uh-huh.
That is so quick.
That was
so
quick.
Then how did you know he was the one versus the other people you're going out with?
Well, I looked at him. He was nice. He loved me. He was he was showering me with all kinds of compliments wherever we could. He always wanted to do things that would please me. And there was no conversation about going to bed with him. That wasn't even an issue.
That is so crazy to me.
We got along, and we said, you know what? He graduated from business school, and I was graduating college, and we got married.
Yeah.
That was it.
Wow. Okay, so let's hear about your dating life before
Oh my gosh,
Poppy.
this is more.
We have so many episodes ahead of us where we'll really have time to tell lots of stories. How many guys do you think you dated before him?
Oh my gosh, maybe 30. Dating. But
Yeah.
one seriously.
30 ever? I mean, that's a good amount.
Yeah, I think my serious ones,
Yeah.
I had one serious one at university.
Right.
And 2 very serious ones when I came back to New York,
Okay.
who I should have married if it was in today's world, because they were much more intense. They were much more emotional. It was a much more, but they didn't fit into what my parents felt was the right format for me to go, the right path. That's the right word, the right path. They were either, they just weren't what my parents envisioned.
Okay.
And in those days, you listened to if your
Right.
father said, this isn't the guy for you, you just didn't go. You just didn't go out
So they
with
were
him.
thinking of a specific type for you?
Yes, absolutely.
And your type was different than what they thought.
Well, I think my type that I fell in love with wasn't exactly the type that they wanted. But,
Which was what? Like the wild guy you were saying?
Well, wild, and one was more adventuresome, and would take off and do things. He would go off skiing, and wanted me to go with him, and my parents
That's
didn't
fun.
approve of that. So, but it turned out, for the better. I mean,
Exactly.
in my case,
your parents know what's right a lot of the time.
but for many of my friends who got married at exactly the same time as I did, the 5 couples that we started out with, we're the only ones still married.
Right.
So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
So what do you think then that my type is? Or do you think I
now-
have one?
I don't know what I think your type is. What your type is something that's in your mind. I think you don't have a type from what I've seen, except that most of them are not exactly my type. So I can't
What do you
can't judge
mean?
them. I can't judge them. The ones in high school were destructive. The one in college was very sweet, but
Yeah.
not a long-term thing because of so many reasons.
Yeah.
Not because anything was wrong with him.
No.
He was a lovely young man.
Yeah.
I actually think you're too much interested in the artistic and not into the realistic. You
Yeah.
have to see, how is somebody going to make me happy in life?
But I am a creative person, and
But
I
two creative people are a disaster.
Well, but it's kind of like I don't know. Like sometimes I like somebody. My last relationship was someone who was logical and brought me down to earth, which is why I feel like it worked for the time that it did. But it's also like some people that I've dated who are super out there, quirky, creative is so fun because
it's fun. It's definitely fun.
you're
but
like
does
in
that
your
make-
own world.
But does that make a long-term relationship? I think those could be dates, and
I
they
don't
can
know.
be very interesting. But you never know. You could be a creative liaison together, and you do
Right, like
wonderful things
partners
together.
in
I
crime.
can't answer that. You can only answer that.
Mhm. So, yeah, I mean, you've seen me dating during the pandemic, especially now that we're living together. I can come back on a few dates and debrief with you.
Well, so
But-
far there's nobody fabulous.
No, we have not found a person. And I say we because it is a group effort
Right.
here. You've seen me rely on the apps, which you don't know.
I don't approve of.
Yeah, you don't know, though, how they work, right?
No.
So
I don't know how they work, but I don't know who. There could be a mass murderer on those apps. Who
I
are
think
these
usually
people?
you see if you
Who
have
are
a
these
mutual
people?
friend with them.
I don't know. I love when people, friends recommend friends. I'm always the first person to think that maybe somebody should know somebody and recommend somebody.
Yeah, but the ones that
those
have been
could be
recommended,
terrible
we've
too.
seen go down the shithole too.
That could be terrible too. So there's no
Wait, before
guarantee.
you judge though, let's go through the dating apps just so I can explain to you the differences because I feel like that'll come up. Let's start with Hinge because I feel like that's the most common for a lot of my friends. It's the app, they say it's designed to be deleted because it's like the idea is that you're supposed to find a relationship eventually on it and delete the app, right?
Or delete the entire app.
Do you understand? It's like you
You
go
meet one
on there,
you meet the
you meet
partner,
your
and then-
person, and then the
then
goal is that you won't need the app
I
anymore.
won't need another person. Okay.
So it's kind of like the relationship app. It's more than just a fling or a hookup.
But do they have guidelines, but that you have to be into certain categories
Yes.
before you can sign up?
So you can you can have preferences to
Okay.
choose what you want in your
Okay.
partner, which
All
we'll go
right.
through in a second. But let me explain all the different ones.
Okay.
The hookup kind of app, which I've never been on, but it's really if you just want someone to essentially have sex with,
Okay.
is Tinder.
Okay.
Then there's Raya, which is a little bit more exclusive. It's like a lot of celebrities are on it. Or if you're just kind of like a connected person, I'm on that and I've found it to have some good people. But it's a little bit more weirdos, which I would like and you wouldn't, probably.
Okay.
Bumble, that's where girls make the first move. So you can only match with somebody if the girl reached out. I've never been on that one. Then there's this new one called Locks Club. Remember I was telling you it's like all Jews?
Yes.
It's like Raya. It's exclusive like that, except
You
it's
have to
only
be
for
Jewish to
yeah.
be
You have to be
on.
Jewish. So that's really it. So I think I
You
want
would
to.
also go to synagogue and meet people.
That is true, but you can't see when you go to synagogue and you're in a room with
Unfortunately, now
them.
you're not going to synagogue so often.
You're right. During the pandemic, no. But even if it wasn't the pandemic, you're going in the room. I can't see, on the app. I can see that person where they went to college, their age,
But
where
there
they
is
live.
such a thing as talking now.
Yeah,
When you
but
go-
why talk to somebody,
Well-
waste your time, and realize, oh, they don't even fit into my categories?
Well, unless you're running General Motors, I mean, you do have some extra time.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so do you want to go through my preferences on
Okay.
Hinge? Let's start with age range. What do you think I put?
Oh, I think you put 25 to 30.
Oh, no, I put 25 to 34.
Okay.
Do you think that's too old?
No, I think 10 years is fine.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's not ideal, but I feel like I don't want to, if the perfect person is on there and they're 34, I'm not going to be like,
No,
no.
that's good. That's good.
Okay, religion, I have Jewish.
Right.
So I'm only going to see Jewish people.
Okay.
On the app.
I think that works.
What about height?
Well, you're short.
I know.
So you could go anywhere. I'd say up to 6'2". Five,
not-
6.
yeah.
5, 6.
5'6"?
Well, they could be
Sorry,
short.
no shade to those people.
I think
but
you had one boyfriend 5'6".
maybe in high school when I was short. I mean, when we were all short,
I don't
like
know.
middle school.
5. All right, so
I
say
think-
5'7".
But here's the thing: if
Good
you
things
put,
come in small packages.
okay, like I would put 5'8" as because I think people lie always and give themselves an extra inch,
All right.
and then 5'7" is.
Well, what
like,
are you going to say you are?
I say I'm 5'2".
Oh, that's right.
But as a girl, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So, and then also on an app, you have prompts. So besides your preferences, when someone goes to your profile, I'll
Yeah.
show you my profile.
Oh, those are pretty pictures.
Thanks.
Those are nice.
Do you think they're good ones?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well, some with your friends. Your friend is pretty too.
I know. Well, I think it's good to do at least one picture with a friend.
Okay, good.
Because then you don't look like a
Well,
loser.
Kimberly, you're very professional. You know how to do that.
I know. So my answers, I have a few prompts here. So for example, you should not go out with me if you don't want to watch Disney movies on date night.
That's awful. That's awful. What is he, 2 years old?
I love Disney. It's a non-negotiable.
Oh, well, then if it's a non-negotiable, you've got to go with somebody very, very young. Maybe a 12-year-old.
Oh.
That I would
But like I
definitely
like
take
young
off.
at heart.
I would take that off, especially somebody who's 34 who's watching Disney. You better take them immediately to the
Really?
psychiatrist.
Oh no. I don't know about that one. Okay, I'm keeping it. This year I really want to this one's kind of a joke. I put follow more dogs than people on Instagram.
All right, that's cute.
Like just to be kind of funny.
Hope you don't talk about The Bachelor on this thing.
Oh, I always do. People love talking about The Bachelor.
There is nobody normal that is going to call you on a date.
Maybe that's why I
This
get
is so
people who
terrible.
are really.
No wonder you have the worst people calling you. That's the worst profile I've ever seen in my life.
What would be better? I'm looking for someone who could be a friend and love my
No,
family. Like,
no.
you have to be cute and funny.
No, that's not cute and funny. This is bad.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's really bad. If I saw that profile, it would have, I don't know who that would appeal to. Maybe a high school junior.
Shit. Well, maybe I have to rework that.
I think you need to get a more sophisticated profile.
Ugh. I also wonder something about dating apps because it's like, let's say you're seeing somebody for a few weeks, you've gone on a few dates with them, and then you're swiping through because you're still looking for
Right.
other people, and
Correct.
I'm sure they are too, and you see that they've updated their profile, like they changed,
Then they're not that into you.
you think?
Yes.
So a guy I had been seeing for a few months over the pandemic, you probably know who I'm talking about. He had updated his profile on one of them, and
Well, he was never into you.
oh,
So I don't really, this is crazy conversation.
no, Grandma. If he wasn't into me, why would we go out so many times?
Because he had nothing else to do, and he did it when it was convenient for him. His was
No,
never
but
a priority.
he
That
never
goes back
had to
our
say.
that goes back to our old thing. You were not a top priority. So those kind of people you eliminate before it goes on for a couple of months. You see that they're not calling you and saying, let's go out Friday, Saturday night. Not, well, my friends are in town from LA and I'll see you when they leave. That's nonsense. If he liked you, he'd say, come along with my friends. So at some point you
But
have
then
to.
why would he continue to want to hang out?
Well,
for so
only
long?
He
And
only
no,
wanted.
he
it was
was-
convenient.
He
It
would
was
say like it could be convenient, but then there's a level of being like, yeah, I really like you, and like checking in, asking
Well,
how
he
work
was-
went, going out of your way with somebody.
Well,
Why do that then?
That could be his modus operandi. Some people are just not sincere. They're just asking those questions because they feel that that's the questions they should be asking. If somebody really, really likes you, and forget the app. Once you've gone on the app and you've made the acquaintance, you should be able to be honest. And if somebody says, well, I'll see you in 2 weeks, how much commitment could he have? I mean, he evidently,
But then
it's one
why
thing
would
if
he
he's flying
waste-
to Europe on a vacation. For work-related things. But this was not the case. I think that this guy strung you along.
Okay, so besides dating apps, there are terms that people in millennials and Gen Z that they use when they talk about dating.
Okay.
I feel like you probably won't know a lot of them, but I'm gonna like be using them.
Test me.
Okay. Sliding into the DMs.
I have no idea. Is that a driver's motor vehicle?
Direct messages. So on Instagram,
Oh, I don't know what Instagram is.
it's a social media app.
Okay.
Somebody can send me a direct message, let's say.
Okay.
So no one else would see it. It's like a private chat.
Private. Okay.
And usually someone will slide into your DMs because they're interested in you.
All right.
Excuse my grandma, she's still learning what it's like to date in 2021.
Are you some kind of professional?
Do you know what it means to leave somebody on red?
I don't know. I know. Yeah, I'm telling you, what is this, a traffic situation?
No, red, like READ. Like you
You read
Yeah,
read something?
Yeah, so you know how on text messages, like it'll say read if the person has read the text message.
Oh, yes.
So let's say I text somebody and I see that they've read it, but they don't respond to me. They're choosing not to respond.
Okay.
So if I was like to this guy we were just talking about, if
Right.
I was like, hey, do you want to hang out on Saturday? And he didn't respond to me, but I could see that he read the message.
Right.
That's kind of a slap in the face.
Okay. All right. So basically, but some people don't take that for they still keep going. So what do? If he keeps sending you a message and you read it and you still don't reply?
That
Does
happens to
anybody
me all
ever-
the time.
I know. This is not good. So I think the answer is you have to reply and say, I'm not interested, or I'm busy, or I'm seeing somebody, but thanks. That's
That's getting into our next thing, which is ghosting.
Uh-oh.
Ghosting is literally exactly when, like, you're texting with somebody, let's say, and then some person just stops and they're seeing your messages clearly but not responding to you, and without any warning of like, hey, I don't see us having a connection anymore, or like, I don't want to go out anymore. They just ghost.
Well,
Do you believe
Is
in
one
that?
more? No, I don't think. I think it's all very hurtful. I think all this is just it's too much online and too much stuff. Somebody should pick up the phone and just turn on your phone and say, "Listen,
If I got a phone call from a guy
yes,
and they said, "Hey, we went on one date. I just wanted to let you know I don't see a connection with you." I would be like, "What the fuck?"
I don't think somebody does that.
Yeah.
That somebody doesn't do that. But if somebody calls you a second time and you've decided you're not going to go out with somebody, you have to I would be nice, but I would say,
You don't owe anybody anything. Like,
No,
if you
you
didn't
don't.
have a good time with them, you do not owe them a phone call.
no, you don't owe them a phone call. But if they call you again and ask you again, then I think you have to answer them.
Yeah, but
It's
you
just
can
not-
answer them on text. You don't have to
Well,
call.
what would your answer be? Oh, I hated you. You have to
Right.
just be nice and say thanks very much, but I think I'm not going to pursue this relationship. I don't even know if that's very nice.
Well, yeah,
I don't
that's
know
the
what
thing.
you would say.
So now there's this whole movement of anti-ghosting. For
Okay.
years, people were saying ghosting, it's the best thing to do. You
Right.
disappear, you never have to deal with it again.
Right.
Now people are saying, I think we're getting a little healthier in 2021, of I think that people should be sending anti-ghosting text, which is what we're talking about,
Right.
of, hey, it wasn't there for me.
Right.
You're a great
A
person.
little more exactly.
But
it's a little more
or
civilized.
sometimes you can even come up with an excuse of like, I'm seeing somebody, or I'm
Right.
not ready to be dating
Right.
again. I just broke up. Whatever it is.
Whatever it is.
Giving somebody something instead
Right.
of, because otherwise they'll be like, oh,
Maybe she didn't get my message.
she didn't get my message.
Right.
She's busy. She has
Right.
a lot going on with work. I'll wait. I'll ask her again in a month. Whatever it is.
Right. Correct.
You know that I've been in these
I think
situations
that's sort
with
of a good
guys.
idea.
I actually just received a message from a guy who I've been ghosting, being like, I really want to try this with you. And I've told him that I don't want to try it.
I think you have to send that same message again. I'm sorry. My answer would be, oh, I'm seeing somebody now. Sorry.
Then there's DTR. It's like the
That's venereal disease?
No. What is that, like an STD?
Yeah.
No.
Oh.
It's to define the relationship talk. DTR.
That needs to take a time to define the relationship. I think when that talk should take place. It shouldn't take place on a third date with somebody who you're just casually having dinner with.
Mhm.
That takes time, and
Yeah, I
especially
think-
today, I think you're going to have a physical relationship, you're going to have an emotional relationship. I don't think you should jump into that. However, if something is going on for 6 months and you see that nothing's happening,
Correct.
then
That's when you have the DTR talk.
Exactly.
And
That's
I
a
think
very
people,
good thing.
people know that. And I think it has to happen.
Oh,
right?
I think it definitely has to happen.
Because you can't, after 6 months, assume this is my boyfriend now. You have to
Correct.
have the conversation.
Well, not only your boyfriend, if there's going to be anything even further than your boyfriend, if you so desire it.
Right.
I mean, some people just want to go on from relationship to relationship and not make major commitments in their lives, especially if you're in your early 20s. There's some people who in their early 20s or mid 20s say, no, you know what? This is enough. I've had enough of these kind of relationships. I don't want it anymore. I want one relationship that'll continue.
Yeah.
So that's a personal. I think it's very personal.
You know, it's very personal, and it's a lot of the time I think it comes from the female. Like, that's a generalization, but I really
think you're
think it's
right.
true.
I
The
think you're right.
what are we talk. No guy's trying to be exclusive. What are we before necessary?
I think you're right, especially in today's day and age when a lot of the men don't really know about, especially today, don't know about their economic positions unless they're financially
True.
secure. I mean, this is a very hard time for couples to really say, you know what, let's go off into the blue and get married and have a relationship
Mhm.
only with each other, because they don't know if they can afford their apartment, they can go move into a house, they can have children. They don't know anymore.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, this happens in stages. In another year, nobody will remember this.
A few more terms here.
Okay.
Netflix and chill.
Well, that I know.
Yeah.
Netflix is my favorite.
But do Netflix and chill.
I don't know what chill is. Just chilling?
People used to say that it was around when Netflix was becoming popular. Netflix and chill, you would invite somebody over to basically come over to hook up.
Oh.
Because you'd
I'd be
watch
hooked up
Netflix.
all day. I'd be having to have a relationship all day long.
Wait, what do you mean?
Because all I
you
do is I watch Netflix.
It's usually an excuse like, oh, come, we'll binge this series together, and it's just to
Oh,
like hook up with them.
that's nice. If you like the person, fine.
Yeah, Netflix and chill is amazing. We
All
love
right.
that.
Okay.
Basics with apps, swiping left versus swiping right.
I don't know. I've never done an app.
Okay, so swiping right is when you like someone,
Oh.
and swiping
Okay.
left you don't.
Okay.
Doesn't matter.
Can they see it?
No.
Oh, okay.
Cuffing season.
What is this, like the cows are coming into the pasture?
No.
What are they doing?
Cuffing season is like when it gets cold out and everyone starts coupling up and wanting a
Oh,
relationship.
coupling. I thought
No,
you said
cuffing.
cupping.
Cuffing.
Cuffing?
Like a handcuff.
Oh, I think that sounds terrible.
It's like cuffing season. It's getting cold. You don't want to be single and go out. You just want like to find somebody.
All right.
So you
okay.
cuff. You cuff. Okay, doesn't matter. A you up text. When someone gets a text saying you up at like midnight.
Right.
That's
You
a late
shouldn't
night.
have your phone on anyway.
That's a late night hookup.
Well, that's no good.
Right.
That's no good. That's somebody who just can't go to sleep.
That's somebody who wants a fuck
Take
buddy
a
and
Tylenol.
not a
Right.
relationship.
Take a Tylenol.
Take an Ambien and go to bed.
Exactly. And go to sleep.
And you use all of these terms to play the game, right? Like, it's a way about going a relationship. For example,
Well, that's why people's relationships are in such trouble today.
yeah, playing. I mean, it's not a healthy game.
No, this whole thing is not healthy.
It's not healthy. But if you want to date in 2021, you play the game.
Sometimes.
Unless, now it's kind of hot not to play the game. If somebody is like, no bullshit, like,
Right.
I like you, I don't like you.
Right.
Kind of like
I
that
sort of like
nowadays.
that now.
Me too. But for a while, it was like, okay, I got this text from him. I have to wait 5 to 10 minutes before sending my next one. Then he responds. Then I can wait 2 minutes. There's actually
Well,
calculated.
This is going back to the 50s kind of dating. Well, maybe we'll kiss tonight, and then maybe I'll let him touch me tomorrow. And then, this is too much of a game. I think today we shouldn't have all these games.
Yeah. Okay, pop quiz. What does it mean when someone cuts contact with you and stops responding to texts?
Oh, I forgot already. I forgot.
Ghosting.
Ghosting. Oh, ghosting. Don't give me any quizzes. I'm going to fail every one of these.
So I do have a story kind of about ghosting, which we were just touching on, that essentially I had gone on like 4 or 5 dates with this guy. We just kissed once. That was it.
Okay, good.
I was not emotionally invested. This is the letter boy.
Oh, the letter boy.
But
he's going to go down in infamy.
Oh, yes, the infamous letter boy. By the 5th date, I was like, okay, I definitely don't feel anything. But I think it's okay that it took me that long to make that decision.
I think that's fine.
I shouldn't be in trouble for that at all. I'm obviously now living here in Florida with you. This was going on right before. So I had sent the text, an anti-ghosting text of, I don't see it going further in this moment. I'm going to Florida. I've enjoyed getting to know you, but timing
Perfect.
isn't right. It's just where my head is at right now. I hope you can understand.
Correct. Very good.
Thank you.
That was great.
So
Very mature.
He responded, I'm entirely surprised by this. I don't know where this is coming from. We need to talk right now. I'll meet you wherever,
No, this is
whenever.
This is not good.
No, not good. Getting so serious. And I was like, okay, I'm sorry you're surprised, but like, I'm not sure what else there is to say. I don't hear a response. Suddenly, the next day, I get a notification from my building that something was dropped off in the lobby.
This is not good either.
No. And I'm like, is this like, could it be what if it's a bomb?
I don't think it's a bomb, but it could be not a nice thing that he said.
What I was thinking it could be, this is like savage, but if it was like asking to write out a check of like all the dinners that he had sent me for me to like pay bought for me.
You're working over.
I know. Well, no, I was going over my head. I'm like, what the fuck? And then I was like, what if he's still downstairs? I don't want to go down and get the letter.
That's more reasonable. I can understand.
But
that.
I do. I live in a
All
doorman
right.
building.
So you went down and got the letter.
I get the letter. So basically, the letter was very, very serious. He signed his full name.
So
like
he liked you much more than you liked him. That was the bottom line in this kind of thing. This is going back to where the other guy was that you were talking about before. Sometimes one party likes the other party more. So how do you handle it gracefully? How do you handle it? I don't know.
Do you think
Somebody
closure
always
is the
gets-
answer?
I don't know. I think somebody always gets hurt in these relationships, whether it be the woman or the man. I think, unfortunately, that's something we just try to end it as nicely as we can without hurting the other person. And I think evidently one is more invested in the other, and you just got to figure out in your own way how to end it really as a mature adult.
Yeah. Wait, so question. When you were dating, was there such thing as a ghosting?
No, there wasn't such a thing. No, because
No,
we
not
didn't
the
have
term.
we didn't have.
But I'm saying, was there ghosting in the sense it's like someone could call you and you just don't pick up the phone and never give them an explanation?
Well, no, I don't think there might have been. I don't remember. It was so long ago, but
Yeah.
I think there were many dates that I went on that I didn't like the fellow. So after a couple of times,
But they always called you.
they always called me
Because
back.
that's
I
courtesy.
never
What
had,
if would they call you if they didn't like you?
and if they didn't like me, they wouldn't have called back. So then
Okay,
we
wait,
would have
so they
moved
never just
on.
call and be
So
like,
you
that was
move-
a really nice, like, don't you have to call and say thank you for dinner?
No,
Okay.
no, we never did that. No,
Because if someone
people
pays
were
for my
expect-
dinner now,
we
I
were-
always send a
See,
thank
we
you
expected
text.
that. The women never paid for themselves
Mm.
in the olden days.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always the man.
Well, actually,
who
a girlfriend
did
of
it.
mine, she's been going on dates as well. She's single, and she usually what you do on a date, you go out with somebody, with the check comes, and you offer to split.
right, correct.
And the guy
Usually decline.
99.9% of the time says, "Oh my gosh, don't even worry, it's on me," and you
Right.
say thank you.
Correct.
And then you send a thank you text later. Thanks again for dinner.
Right. Perfect. That's very nice.
But my girlfriend recently, she went on a date and she did the, "Can I split it with you?" And he
You
said,
said
"Sure."
yes. Well, fine. First of all, perhaps, and I don't know this particular young man,
Mhm.
but perhaps economically he
Right.
couldn't pay the whole bill, and maybe that's the one thing I always say to you and to
Mhm.
any younger person that I've ever come in contact: be very careful that you don't order the most expensive thing on a
Right.
menu, which a lot of people do. You know, you can't expect
No
somebody to
truffle
pay
mac
for
and cheese,
no truffle,
steak,
no
filet
lobster.
mignon.
I mean,
yeah.
you know, chicken is good. Piece of
Fish is expensive usually.
well, then don't have the fish either.
Pasta.
Whatever. But
Pasta's good.
be considerate until you know the person's financial
Mhm.
situation. In this
But then
case,
it's
where
also
your
like, if the
friend,
guy really couldn't split one dinner, like,
No, but
should he
sometime-
not have gone there?
well,
with
maybe he
her?
wasn't just into her.
True. No, but
And
I
it
think
might
they
have
did go
seen
out
that-
again.
Well, if they went out again, then it could be more financial
Do you
than
think-
you really realize.
Do you think, like, if he really liked her, he would have paid for the dinner in full?
No, sometimes he couldn't. Maybe he didn't have enough cash. Maybe he
Right.
felt he was insecure about
But
it.
it was. Oh, I actually just remembered it wasn't about that, because he was talking about his maid and his, like.
Oh well, then
he was act-
then he's cheap. then he's a cheap son of a gun, and I'm not sure I would have given him a second date.
I know. I got to talk to her about that. So I think that's it for the episode.
Oh, Kim, this was fun. This
I
was
know.
great.
I had a
Enjoyed it.
Great combo.
I don't know if anybody's going to even understand about my dating, but I hope they had a good time and we had fun.
And we're gonna go over so much more in future episodes. Please write in if you have questions for my grandma or me and you want advice. We'd love to hear it. And
But
you'll
no old dates.
what? No what?
No old dates can write in.
Oh, are your old dates alive?
Yeah, they're alive. They're not kicking, but they're alive.
My old dates, feel free to slide into my DMs. I still love you. Okay, I'm kidding. For any questions you want to ask, you can email us at excusemygrandma@gmail.com or DM me on Instagram at Kim Murstein. That's KIMMURSTEIN. And see you next
And
week.
Grandma says bye.
Bye.